afternoon and welcome to Brave Embrace and happy Friday. So audience describe my guest as inspirational, intriguing, full of concrete and real life tools to help find inspiration and to find their brave. Please join me in welcoming Rena Romano to our show today. Hi, Rena.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I was so excited when you reached out. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I was so thrilled to come across your story, your beautiful TEDx testimony, and just to see the way you light up your every work that you do, your website photos and just your interactions. I could feel this energy. I was drawn to it. And I could see there was this fighting spirit, the strength to be brave.
Definitely brave, huh?
Definitely brave. Well, that's what we like to do here. We like to highlight encouraging stories where people have found their brave. We'd like to leave tips and tools to help others that are going through difficult times. And we focus on stories of true overcoming. So I know that you are in a field of coaching. You're an author. You've been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. You have an amazing TEDx talk that I know is used to facilitate further discussions and other really methodologies around people surviving and overcoming. So I'd love to know how and what brought you into this field.
Well, you know what, Kim? Again, thank you for having me here. I just felt I had a purpose. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know what it was going to look like, and it's still evolving. But years ago, I joined Toastmasters in 2007 because I knew I wanted to publicly speak, share my story, because I had seen the light at the end of that tunnel of trauma. And I just knew something was pushing me, the universe, God, the divine, pushing me to finally live in my purpose and share my story. And so here I am today talking with you. And yes, I was on Oprah Winfrey, shared my story then, and wrote a book, did a TEDx, and it's still evolving.
Well, we connected because your light and energy has permeated many thousands of people across the world. And there were a couple that I learned about that just said you have changed the trajectory of their healing. Victims and overcomers of survivors of sexual assault and sexual abuse, when they heard the words that you delivered to them through these opportunities, they knew that their life mattered and could be okay. They stepped into counseling. One person gives a testimony, just many others. So how do you feel that you were able to step into that place of strength coming out of a place of pain?
And I say this in my TEDx talk, I grew tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit. And I knew that I wanted to live in joy and I wanted to be happy. And I just got tired of being angry about what happened to me. And a friend of mine told me once, she said, it's okay to be angry about what happened to you. It's absolutely normal, but it's not okay to stay stuck there. You have a life to live. You have work to do. You have a purpose, Rena, and you can't do that really from a place of anger. Now, to me, anger, it can be a catalyst to change, and it was. But now I'm living in this joy and happiness, and I have a lot of survivors around the world, come to me and say, how did you get so happy? And honestly, it's just a matter of choice. I know that sounds simple, but
it truly, truly is. And it sounds like we all need a good friend who shared with you and inspired you. She kind of gave you a little kick in the pants, huh? That said,
she
come on.
Sure did.
We all need that kind of friend.
Yeah. She encouraged me. She said, when are you going to stop playing the victim and take responsibility for your life? And again, with part of that message, she said, you're not responsible for what happened to you as a child, but you are responsible now for how you live the rest of your life as an adult. That's and that was such an awakening. I was really mad at her when she first said that. And I talk about that in my book, His Puppet No More. I was really hurt by her words. But about a week later, it was like the hand of God came down and slapped me in the head and said, snap out of it, Rena. And I finally understood what she was saying, that I have to accept what happened. It happened, as ugly as it is. I'm a survivor of incest and sexual assault as a young adult. And I can't change what happened, but I can change how it's in control of me.
Mm-hmm. That is incredibly not only inspirational, but just a really clear message on it. It really comes down to the choice. And as you and I have shared, our law firm, D. Miller and Associates, we are fortunate enough to represent some folks in our world that have been deeply wounded by sexual abuse, by, at the hands of others. And I would love for you, if you don't mind, to unpack a little bit about maybe how old were you when you went through these periods of abuse, and just, what those years looked like. A lot of the people that we are working with, and I know many out there, are just now feeling the strength to come forward and disclose, and also feeling strong enough to step into that power as you're describing. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was 4 years old when the incest started. And a child at 4 years old, I had no language for what was happening to me, but I trusted and loved this person because they groomed me. It was a half brother, older. He was 15, I was 4. And it went on for many years, almost two decades. He gave me drugs. He made me do pornography, but I had to act like I was living a normal life. And because on the one hand, I loved my brother, but on the other hand, I hated my abuser. And as a child, I felt responsible. If I told on him, I would be breaking up the family unit as I knew it. And that's a lot of responsibility for a child to bear. So I had to act normal for I didn't come out to the family until I was 34.
Really? All of that pain and
all of that pain. And then, of course, after I said no more to him, when I became stronger, I continued with self-abuse, alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, all kinds of things, just self-abuse, because that's all I knew. But I got tired of it. And I started seeing shows like Oprah. And back then, I'm aging myself, Phil Donahue and Sally Jesse Raphael. And
there too. She wears the red glasses. Yeah.
Exactly.
All about, yes.
So, but during those years as a child, Kim, I understand why people don't come forward, because I felt like it was my fault. And he would belittle me after he abused me and make me feel worthless, call me names, and he ensured my silence. And that's what they do, family member or not. That's what our perpetrators do. And also, this is many years ago, but a friend of mine had been sexually assaulted, and the police victim blamed her. This was 40 years ago or so. So I knew that telling my truth, I'm going to get blamed.
Oh, goodness. Yes. The shame around that is.
And unfortunately, we still see it these days. It's not as bad as it was. Victim blaming.
Right. I do hope that the tide is turning. Recently, we saw some of these brave USA gymnasts come forward and testify to Congress about the experience of their disclosure to, an agency that we would assume and hope would have it all buttoned up and do it all right. The Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I've worked with the FBI, created programs with them, worked on their victim assistance team, but it sounds like, one or two of the agents, this was just maybe outside of the scope for them. But hearing the testimony there. It just wrenched my heart to realize that like you said, this victim blaming still occurs, and it occurs at the highest level. And it's tragic to know that more people are going through it. More people will experience it in the future. So this is a good, a chance for you to get that message out there about being a thriver, huh?
A thriver. Yes. I love that word. I trademarked it, and I kept the sir because I'm not ashamed of my past. And that's what I want to encourage survivors, that we don't have to be ashamed of the crimes committed against us. Yes, we tolerated it. Yes, we kept silent. Yes, they made us feel like it was our fault, but it is not our fault. And we are not the perpetrator. And that's what I want victims to know. That the moment I had that feeling, Kim, is I am so tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit.
It's powerful. And
I know. It was boom.
Yeah. Like a light bulb that just took maybe some of the weight off, I guess, and turned the blame where it should go back to the offender.
Yep.
And it gave you a sense of freedom and release, kind of. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just, when you hit that moment that you just get so fed up, that's when change happens, and that's why I wanted to do the TEDx talk, and it's called Healing from Sexual Abuse Can Start with One Word. And if you want to find out what the word is, you have to go watch the talk on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. But fortunately for me, Kim, I had family support from my mother and my other siblings. Once I came out with my story, they rallied behind me. My mother gave my brother's inheritance to me to help pay for my therapy. But sadly, that's not the case for other survivors. They don't get the support. The women that I was in group with, many of them got kicked out of the house as teenagers because they were blamed. And so unfortunately, many people don't have the support that I did. But I think that's why I even more, great language.
I'm following it intently.
Even more.
Yeah, that's right. Even more. That's how passionate you are. You just want to get out there.
I had to get out there and tell that talk and share that message with the world. And now it's being used in the UK for therapist training, trauma therapy training. And so I'm so fortunate. Also talking about the Olympians, a victim of Larry Nassar's. She was a gymnast, and her name is Kayla. You can see the testimonial on my website below my TEDx talk. But she sent me an email and said, "Thank you for your talk."
Sure, it helped her seeing such a thriving, beautiful woman with this spirit that's so alive and energetic. Even though you were discussing, that's how I came across you and learned about you, was this beautiful TED Talk, which a friend sent and said, "You've got to watch this." And to know that she felt some healing and some things come together, knowing that she wasn't alone, knowing that you had worked to overcome and that you were going to share tools, for her to do the same.
Absolutely. And every time I share my story, it helps me heal. And I want survivors to know that you don't have to go on Oprah and share it with the world unless you want to. But you must get help, get healed, get happy, because it's time to take back your power. It's time to take back, we need to stop doing the time for their crimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And often, we are the one, stuck in that place. And for so many out there that just haven't had that support, I've kind of been excavating and hearing that one of your first benchmarks is finding that support, whatever that looks like, right? So whether it's a family member or a trusted advocate or counselor, your faith maybe, the universe, good friendships, just to find that support kind of as a launching step maybe into that healing.
Well, and I am on the RAINN Speaker Bureau too. It's RAINN.org. And if you haven't told anybody, you can call them and they can get you help in your local area too, but call them. When I finally reached out to a crisis center, I thought they would blame me and judge me, and that is not what I experienced. And those type of places, when you call them, they listen without interruption or judgment, and they let you share your story because they know the pain and they know the shame.
Words. Yes, saying the words and how that can just even help to be able to call it something, identify it something. On that note, I heard you describe this term, which I think those listening need to understand too, is the grooming process that goes into so much of the sexual abuse. And so being able to look back and see that and identify that as you did early on, did that help also alleviate some of that blame that you had, the self-blame, knowing that you were manipulated kind of into this situation and relationship there?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I share a story in my book, His Puppet No More. And I tell about the time that I told my mother. I was living in Florida. That's where I live now. At the time, I'm originally from Kansas City. But my brother had moved to California, and we didn't know that he was in Kansas City. The weekend, I told my mother, I called her, and he happened to come by her house the next day, and he knocked on the door, and she stood in the doorway, and she says, I know what you did to her. I know you did to Rena all those years. I can forgive you for the things you've done to me, but I will never forgive you for what you did to her. And he looked at her very indignantly and said, well, there's two sides to every story. When my mother told me that, talk about getting mad. I got so mad that he wasn't taking responsibility for almost 2 decades of rape, starting at the age of 4. That kept me determined. And when you get mad, like I said, and you get determined, because I had to fix what he broke and what the others broke. And I was determined to fix what they broke. And I went to a meeting every week for 2 years. I never missed a meeting because I was determined to take back my power, to take back my life. And I thought that they stole my happiness, but they didn't. It just went into hiding until I was ready to bring it out.
Wow. And does it ever shine? It's
yes.
So glorious because I know it comes from deep within. And even seeing you pivot to a place of what that anger must have been like, which, by the way, when you said that, everything inside of me just froze because, yes, he's blaming you as a 4-year-old child, and these things. And that's a commonality that I've heard from survivors where, yes, those abusers or even society twists it to somehow make you feel as if you did something to encourage or invite it. And, here you are, this young child. And again, it just builds the anger. So you took that step to go to support. Are they support groups for like other survivors of sexual abuse and assault?
I was very fortunate at the time. They had 6 other women in this group with 2 therapists. One was a male therapist, one was a female, and I did not trust men at the time, obviously. So I was really reluctant to go into this support group. But the day, the first meeting, I just let it spill out. I was crying, I was heaving, I had to get it out of me because I was so determined, especially after what he told my mother, and he didn't take responsibility. And then I found out that some of those women had been there for weeks and almost a year without hardly saying a word. And the first time I'm there, hey, you can't keep me quiet. I will never shut up.
I love it.
But me just spilling the beans right off the bat helped those women start sharing their story. And it was really powerful because I know that one-on-one therapy is great. I've had it, but this group therapy that going together with 6 other women, and unfortunately, they didn't have the support I had. Many of them didn't, but we were able to help each other and listen to each other's stories. And that's the group where she slapped me upside the head and said, when are you going to stop playing the victim and take responsibility. Now, had one of the therapists said that, it wouldn't have worked.
Aha. So it took, someone that was really clearly fighting that same battle, but she was having insight over your experience and bam, said those words.
Absolutely. But I was stuck in victimhood. But I was a victim for 24 years. I was sexually assaulted as a young adult. I think I was 24 or 25 in my own home by a colleague. So, from the age of 4 to 24, 20 years of being raped, I was stuck in victimhood, and who could blame me? I didn't know any other way. And I had to learn how to take that responsibility, how to take back my power, because I got tired of playing the victim card. And I know that was sabotaging my success, my love life, my happiness.
Yes. So do you mind if there are words you can put to what, being in that victim place, living in that space for a longer time, or being stuck there? What does that look like for you or for other people that you've worked with?
There's no self-worth. There's my self-esteem, no confidence. But I acted like it because I'm a type A personality, and I was in sales for years, construction sales.
Oh.
So I had to act like my life was perfect. I had to act like nothing was wrong. But from 8 to 5, man, I lived in integrity. I loved my work. But after 5 o'clock, the victimhood would come back on. I'd go self-sabotage with drinking and sleeping around and just being awful to myself. And so what it looks like, it looks like somebody's really got it together, but they really don't. And what I want survivors to know, Kim, is that it's recovery is hard work. It ain't pretty. You know that. It ain't pretty. But I'm telling you, living in secrecy, trying to wake up every day and get out of bed and living in shame and self-abusing, that takes much more work to do than doing the work in recovery. It was harder to put on that mask every day and act like, hey, I'm normal. Nothing happened to me. And so many people were, when I came out with my book, when I went on Oprah in 2009, they're like, wow. I mean, I could have won an Oscar. And that's what survivors do. That's what we do to survive.
Yes. And I heard you use the word self-sabotage. I see that, play out so often. And I think you just defined it and described that beautifully. And I'm so thankful, Rena, because it's hard to really understand what that looks like when you are staying in that victimhood. But it becomes that reflection back on yourself about everything that, you say to yourself and think of to yourself, but that whole facade that's out there in the world. And do you think that those trying to coexist cause added stress and turmoil and failure of, like you said, relationships and sometimes work opportunities and, relationships with family or children or spouses? It influences all that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I have a podcast called Survivor Unleashed. And I have a lot of survivors come on who have gone through the healing period, because I want them to share. I want them to show other survivors the endless positive possibilities of life after trauma. We can take back our power. We can bring out our happiness. We can live in joy. We can find love. We can find success and prosperity and have the life that we want. Hey, look at Oprah. She did it. Right?
Uh-huh.
And there's so many out there that are doing it. Simone Biles. I mean, look at all the Larry Nassar survivors and look how they're doing.
It's incredible to see them step into their strength, for sure, and kind of rewrite the story for themselves. But that headspace with complex trauma, especially like you described, you went through this, horrendous experience growing up as a child, and then had another offense by someone else in your life that must have just felt like you were continually being kicked back down the hill. Yet here you were. I just see you climbing. Yeah.
I was climbing and to act like I knew that there was something I wanted. I knew I wanted a better life. I just didn't know what it looked like. And I just knew that I had to survive. And there was so many times I probably should have been killed or OD'd. And, the divine universe, God, whatever you want to call it, kept me alive for a reason. And I'm here, and I'm going to bring that reason to the front. I mean, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, I just feel compelled to get out of bed and do it. But I want survivors to know, if you haven't gotten help yet, you're doing the work already. You're doing the work by just getting out of bed every morning. You're already doing the work. So please get help, get healed, get happy, because you deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel as if the word forgiveness and its concept, where does that fit into this choice and this process that you just described to kind of decide to step out of that? Where does forgiveness fall in?
Well, I have to tell you, Kim, I was never going to forgive my perpetrators. I was so angry. I was stuck in the anger, and I swore to God that I would never forgive them. But then I would start seeing people on Oprah and some of the other shows, how they had been they were able to forgive people who murdered their loved ones or, their abusers. And I'm like, but to me, if I forgive them, it's going to say, okay, it's okay what you did to me. But finding out what forgiveness is, it's not saying it's okay what they did to me, because it's absolutely not. It's okay for me to take back my power. That's what it's saying. That's what forgiveness is. It's okay for me to have the life I choose to have. So I did forgive my perpetrators. Now the rapist, statute of limitations are up. I don't know where he is. He's probably alive, but as a child, all my perpetrators are dead. So maybe it was easier to forgive them. Mm-hmm. And I also have survivors ask, if I forgave them, would I still have them in my life? Absolutely not. Because surviving and thriving is setting up those boundaries. You can choose to have them in your life. That's entirely up to each individual. Mm-hmm. But, I wouldn't. There's no way.
Yeah. Setting healthy boundaries that make you feel safe and protected, and just even that you have the right and the chance to set up for yourself by saying, sorry, I can't have you in my life anymore. Or, in most cases, that person, what I've seen is they're not usually healed. They don't do the work. They don't try to change or overcome. And that's so, such a tragedy, because I almost mixed two words there, travesty and tragedy. So I'll choose one of them instead of both of them together. But just feeling, stuck, like they somehow didn't make this happen. And it makes me wonder about the word resilience as well. And, how we come through the hard stuff, choose things like forgiveness or finding strength or being brave, stepping in. And also, you acknowledged statute of limitations. I know you even worked as a survivor to change the law in Florida to banish the statute of limitations on child rape cases, correct?
Absolutely, for Donna's Law. And that was in 2019. I spoke at the Florida Senate, gave my testimony, and it went through all the way through and passed, thank goodness. Yes. And so I'm very proud of that I'm lending my voice to that.
And the journey has taken you to a place of continual, stepping into your strength. And I love that. I can see kind of the pathway as you worked harder and harder, climbed, closer to that summit, and chose to look at these things and really dissect where you were stuck. How can I communicate? How can I tell people about the hope? So tell me a little bit about your coaching business. I know that you have different programs available. You also send out an amazing, informational news. I don't want to say newsletter. That sounds old fashioned. That's not what it is. It's like this chock full email of inspiration and tips and knowing that you're loved and knowing that you're not alone. Yes.
It's my 52 weeks of inspirational, transformational affirmations. And I do believe in affirmations. I use them all the time. I write them. I think they're important because we can create our own reality. We can create the life that we want, and using positive affirmations. So go to renaromano.com and sign up for them. But each week you get a different affirmation, and it may not sit with you that week. Pick your own affirmation, but read the story, because I always have little stories and messages with it. And I share a little bit of, what I was thinking or how I got to that certain point. And I think it's important to show survivors, you're not alone. This is what I went through. This is what, and it doesn't look the same for everybody. But our details of what happened to us are different, but the shame and the pain is so similar and so debilitating. And so my affirmations are there to help. And I have other programs, short stopping self-sabotage. And then I'm working on a online program called Thriving After Sexual Abuse. And it's for survivors who have gone through counseling, but who maybe are still struggling with confidence and self-worth and self-esteem issues. I did. Kim, when I went through counseling, I thought I was one and done. I've been through therapy. I've been shrunk. I like to say I've been shrunk.
I like that.
I've been shrunk. But as the time went on, I realized that the continuing education and self-help and getting therapy, I've done tapping and I've done hypnotherapy and I've talked to therapists again. I've done affirmations. So I do a lot of self-help because we have to continue. It's continuing education and it's continuing self-help.
Yeah, so putting the right words in our brains, in our thought processes. That's right about affirmations. Just knowing, I remember a counselor said to me and gave me an affirmation: you are perfect, whole, and complete, and where you're supposed to be at the right time for the right reason.
Yes.
And I haven't said that out loud in years. So thank you for bringing that out in me. It's been hidden in my heart, but it's such a truth. And when I can just hold on to a truth like that, and like affirmations do, it does reset, reframe, and I think pivot us to a place where, okay, I can take a deep breath and, step forward. Tapping is one that I really want to talk about sometime on this show. So I'd love to have you back so that you can share your experience. Because like you, I've tried it. And basically, for those that aren't familiar, it is a process where through tapping, you interrupt brain signals and so forth, signals that go into your vagus nerve in your body, right? To reset. Yep. You want to tell me a little bit more from your perspective?
I don't know all the technical details of it.
Okay.
My friend, Dr. Katie Nall, is the one I tap with. And so you can find her at Nall Edge, Katie Nall. And she taps with me. And I don't know how to explain it, but we say whatever the negative thing is that I'm feeling, that's what we talk about. And usually it's, you want to talk about the positive, but this is different. So we get that negative thing out. And then after a while, I start laughing, and it's like, I was feeling really silly about that, because I still have to work on my confidence, my self-esteem, my self-worth. And so self-help, do it every day. We have to.
Boy, I love that. We even work on that through the firm, to work on self-care with our teams and our staff in dealing with these difficult situations. Often we take on, I think, some of the yuck of it. And I'm so proud and honored of the teams that I have at the firm that are committed to an administration, committed to making sure that we do those things. So, journaling, running, writing, candles, I use aromatherapy a lot. It's almost, as we're talking, I'm hearing this little voice that's like, we're giving time and space to the hurt and the trauma so that we can look at it, listen to it, feel it, and then let the light go into it, and then it like kind of evaporates. And do you sense that as well when you give space to some of that pain?
Absolutely. And, I consider myself a bit of an empath when I'm sharing. When I'm sharing or others are sharing with me, I feel their pain. I feel their emotions, and I tend to feel it and take it on. So I have to do self-care. If I don't, I can't help other people. We have to put ourselves first. Self-care is not selfish. I'm sure everybody's heard that, but it is so true and so important that we have to self-care. And because dealing with all this negativity, especially when you're working with people who have and children, I can't. I work with adults who have gone through what I've gone through. I just couldn't work with children. It would just kill me.
Too much of a trigger, maybe
it's too much of a trigger, and I know that. So I know what my lane is, and it's women survivors and men. And so, yeah.
So the coaching practice, I know you coach speakers as well, so they can find voice to share their personal story and what inspired them to do what they're doing, and be excited about it. And also with the Toastmasters and then the TEDx speaking coaching. But then also, do you do private coaching for people or groups, or help facilitate groups around healing and that kind of thing?
I do one-on-one private well-being coaching, and I am looking at putting a 12-week group program together. Probably do that maybe quarterly or something a year. So all of this is just evolving, and it will evolve. So that's still coming out. So the programs are thriving after sexual abuse may, become a group coaching program too. But I do use the same principles in my well-being one-on-one. And yes, I do teach speech coaching and TEDx coaching as well. I'm a world-class speech coach.
I love that. You have not let these circumstances and this negativity define who you are. And while some years were burdened by the pain of that, I also see that it built in you this really strength of like those deep roots of a tree. And then now you're growing, and you're like emerging into this light that not only brings, hope and healing, but it also brings like a hand to hold, I feel, and like an arm around you. Like, we got this, we can do it. So do you have that still in your life, where you have people that surround and support you?
Oh, absolutely. I need that. I have family and friends, and I reach out to them because I have down days. I'm normal. I'm human. And I want people to know that I'm not always happy and chipper. There are days I want to stay in bed or just be a couch potato. That's normal. And what I want people to see, Kim, too, for years, I did allow what happened to me define me. I did, because I didn't know any other way. And watching Oprah and some of the other shows, that's when I reached out to get help. And that's when I got determined to take back my power. But I'm normal, and I want survivors to know that, we all make bad choices. It doesn't make us bad people. It just helps us grow. Helps us grow. And I have friends who have never gone through the trauma like we have. And they have self-worth, imposter syndrome issues, confidence issues. And I would think, they're just normal people. They haven't gone through the trauma that we have. So we're normal. We're normal, more normal than we think.
Yes. And I think in today's environment, with just the things that we're facing at large, and globally, it causes us to want to dig into that more and find that hope. Well,
I think Daniel's not muted anymore.
I know, our producer. I hear a little bit of background there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I think it's a great time to just kind of close and thank you for just who you are, Rena, really, and the decisions you have made step by step to continue to find that brave, be brave, inspire brave, and then go into this work, sharing your testimony, sharing your encouragement and your skills. I know there's a lot in front of you, and I'm thrilled that we're a part of it and that you're a Kansas City native, which I didn't even know.
I know. That was great to find out. Well, next time I'm in Kansas City, we'll get together. Definitely.
Yes. Well, I just thank you for who you are. And I thank you for sharing with us today in full transparency. And I hope that those that are watching and those that will watch will see that this place is available. This place of hope is available. What are some parting words that you have?
I just want you to never give up hope. At the end of the day, if all we have is hope, hope is what we have. We can't let go of that. Reach out, get help, get healed, get happy, because you're so worth it. And somebody out there needs to see your strength. And you're getting out of bed every day. All of us are. And doing the best we can, and just tomorrow do even better and just keep going. So thank you for having me here. So I appreciate it.
Beautiful. It's beautiful what you said. And this place is always here for you as well. And I know we'll do more together. I'm excited. I'm going to encourage those watching to go onto Rena's website, renaromano.com. Apologies. And definitely sign up for the inspiration and affirmation email that she sends, and continue to watch her work. There are resources on there. I mean, I've spent hours just digging through. There's so much content. And then, I really want people to visit, to find your TEDx talk, get your book, really learn about you, and consider us friends, that we are here with you. And that's what I like people to take away as well.
Yes, so, please watch the TEDx talk. I've heard from male survivors around the world too. One fellow was contemplating suicide, and he watched the talk, and now he's in the ACES program over in Scotland. So I'm so proud of him. Wow. I'm going to make sure he watches this. Hi, Jay.
Yeah. Hi. We're proud of you.
Yeah.
All it takes is one person to believe, in your strength, and right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for having me here and allowing me to share, because I want them to take back their power. I want them to have their happiness come back alive. It's there.
It's there. And I see it in you, and I hope they see it. I know they see it in you as well. And that alone will drive some brave for sure. So, okay. Well, thank you for watching today. Be brave, and we will see you again soon. Thanks again, Rena.
Thank you.
Bye.